to everyone, and thank you for the invitation. I would like to start with emphasize on it that this presentation I didn't imagine as evidence-based research presentation or webinar. It's pure of my experience in previous 13 years of work in the different countries. And everything what I will try to present you is not the non-negotiable thing. It's something what I experienced and try to transfer on my work on daily basis. Due to that, I will first try to go with my experience. As I said, you know who speak to you. Go shortly through my CV. Just a second. Yeah, here you can see my CV in the last 13 years. I'm from Croatia. At the moment, I'm also the president of the Association of Croatian Football Coaches. Started in my coaching career in one third division club, 2007, as a head coach of under 16, and after that I go as a head coach also in the youth department in top division in Croatia, FC Osijek. Same time working in the federation as a head of developmental camps in 2015. After that, I come back in my previous club where I started as a head coach of the A team, and then I decided to go abroad in Norway, where I'm currently now. Yeah, as a head coach, I started in Norway in generation of 16, 19, and then I go as a head coach of the A team 2016 and been there until 2019 or exactly 2018 in November when I signed for Most Football Club as a head coach of the A team. At the moment, I'm on FA Pro license in Croatian Federation, and I also have a post-graduation in high performance football coaching in Human Kinetics University in Lisbon, 2018. And this is actually the more or less everything what I go in the last 13 years. I want to share with you more about impact of environment on the team performance, and starting with the next slide. I want us to first of all differentiate environment and his impact level. I try to share with you something what was been done before from De Boscher in the Netherlands. It was been made in the three categories. Environment was being divided in three categories: is micro, meso, and macro level. To explain more what is micro, we consider micro, or De Boscher consider micro environment coach. That's first of all, if you talk about around the team, around the players, it's a coach. We are the coach staff. We are the micro environment, and we are the smallest part of the environment around the player, or the closest part, if you want, together with family. Then we have a meso level. That's the clubs. First of all, we consider about the plans of development programs and all what one club should bring to the player, to the team, inside of the environment. That's meso level. After it, of course, is macro level. That's everything what the players have when they are not with us, when they are not in the club. That's their surrounding, their family. It's also friends and the media and all other parts of surrounding in macro level. Very important to know how much these different levels impact how much impact we have on it. Micro and meso level, we can impact 50% as a coaches. That means, of course, 20-30% we can impact from ourselves when we start, and rest in the club, it's very difficult for coach to impact. I will talk first of all from the perspective of the senior coach to this webinar, because I'm a senior coach, and this is everything what I will say. It's related to the senior environment. Of course, some things can be adapted to the youth football as well. We as the coaches can impact with our behaviors 50% on micro and meso level, but macro level is impacting the players 50% by itself. That means macro level is very big, have very big impact on the players itself, and we need to see what we can control in this. We can control, of course, micro level, what I said earlier, meso level partly, but macro level, who would have the biggest impact on the players, we don't have so much control on it, and that's the biggest challenges for the coaches, what I felt in the last 13 years, how to control this macro environment, media, and the period when the player is going off the stadium from the session, then how we controlling, how they behave. That's very big challenge for what I faced, because okay, if you are in the same professional football, players are with you maybe 5 hours per day, and the rest they are in this macro environment, and that's a big challenge to manage and control players when they go off the sessions. But it's impacting the performance on the big way. That's for sure. I will try to explain you more and easier through the environment puzzle that I made for myself, according what I faced through the challenges in my work, going from the club to the club, or going from the culture to the culture, country to the country. And I will try to make in the 6 different puzzles what I believe that should be considered when you want to create the high performance football team. First, of course, it's culture. What we consider is culture. Culture is the way how we approach and how we solve the situations on the field and off the field. It's a big impact, because surrounding have a big impact on performance of the team. I will compare with my team. For example, when I move from one club to another club in Norway, it's only 30 minutes drive from one to another, but it's completely different environment. My current club, Moss FK, they played in the 80s in the Champions League in the group with Real Madrid and Bayern Munich, and expectations are different, completely different. And my club, where I've been before, Follow, their model was being completely different as well. Their surrounding was being completely different as well. They had many young players. They've been oriented on the youth development, and in most it's completely different. Also in playing wise, in most they made the biggest historical success on very direct football with lots of long balls, and all supporters who coming in my games, some of them also saw and been attending that games in the 80s, and they have that as a reference. I mean, when I came in that club, I knew that it's completely different environment, and I try to analyze every environment before I come on these 6 points that I will show you after. It's completely different demands from the environment to the coach, and it's completely different demands also toward the players from the environment. What I faced as a challenge is implement my ideas in that kind of challenge, in that kind of environment. Because when we try to play something different, then they get used to it in the 80s or later on, we get a big pressure from the stands. We are one of the clubs in the league who have around 1,000 people every game. What is in that level in Norway is quite high, and we face that as a challenge. That means culture is very important part of the puzzle in terms of environment when you move from one to another. Also for example, by the countries as well. When I moved from Croatia to Norway, it's completely different for me. It has been completely different for me in terms of culture. In Croatia, everything is more creative, freedom, and in Norway it's more like a hardworking, more like a physical focus on the physical aspects of the game. What is for me something different, and I need to adjust as well. Next one is communication. First of all, if we know that every team building rise and fall down through the communication, with the communication. Every training session is some sort of form of communication as well. Looking on the basic things like that we have a physical contact, that we have an. First of all, I want to tell you that I prefer to start every session through the physical contact as a part of communication, because as probably you know, with the physical contact we're releasing the oxytocin, that is a hormone of the trust and comfort being with each other. And we try to always implement some small parts of 1-2 minutes of the fun game where the players need to touch each other, where they need to start some relationship interaction in a different way than on the what they have on the daily base. But it's very, very important for us to focus on communication, because what my biggest challenge was being as a coach is that distinguish professional from personal communication, dialogue, because that's impact a lot of coaches. If you go too much in personal, then in the future when you need to bring the very, very difficult decision as a head coach, what is very often, then you will have an issue, you can have a challenge. But if you go too much in professional as well, you will create a too big distance between the players in terms of trust and communication and relationship. What is for me very, very important. That's would be my biggest issue in the beginning, to find the edge, to find the balance between these two things. What I decide how to lead my thoughts in that way was being I said, okay, I don't want to make them satisfied. I don't want to make them satisfied. I want to make them better. And I try to approach always from that perspective when I take over the new team, and try to tell the players, okay, guys, I'm not here to make you satisfied. I'm here to make you better, because I'm not so much seeing the players that they are satisfied, they're becoming better, but I saw many players who are becoming better and getting satisfied in the same time. Because of that, in some situations you need to make some decisions what will impact your communications on that way. As I said, small example, if you read the book of Rinus Michels, how he built a team, it's called building the winning team. That he said that he always preferred to bring the players in the 2 stars, 3 stars hotel, never more than that, because he believed that stars of the hotel will not impact the performance. Maybe they haven't been satisfied, but they're becoming comfortable in uncomfortable situation for them. That's exactly what I want to do as well. Let's go forward to see about ambitions. This is one of very, very important things that I select through these 13 years of work, because there is a very, very thin edge between the self-interest and the interest of the group. And to be honest, that's not the only truth in the football world. That's in the daily base like that. And as soon as we select the people around ourselves, thinking on these things, what are they ambitious, how they approach on the situations in defeat, how they approach on daily basis on the training sessions, then we have a easier decision to select the people, because selection of the people, in my point of view, for me was been very decisive, very decisive, because if you select the wrong people, you will need to do the job for them, or even worse, they will destroy your job that you did. Because of that, ambitious environment is necessary, but we need to know what kind of ambitions we want in our environment. That's the one of the points that I very focus on when I selecting my staff. And in the Norway, since I came in Norway, I had a 3 times opportunity to choose the staff, and I was always thinking about what are their ambitions, and what are their interests. Is it their self-interest about the team interest, or vice versa? That's one of the very important point that I pick up with myself from before. Yeah. Another is consistency. Simple way to explain what for me means consistency is something what make the difference, what divide the best from the rest. Very simple. Divide the best from the rest, because everyone can perform the one game very well, and 2 games, but how we can perform as a coaches, as a players, and in the long term. And also part of the consistency for me is also staying in the same environment, what I will talk later on, because in my personal case, I change, you could see, 4 environment in 13 years. What I'm thinking this job is not so much, especially when we know that if you work in the senior football and as a professional, as I currently doing, then it's very difficult to remain more than 2-3 years in the same environment. But consistency is something what give the advantage. Ben Darwin is ex-rugby player, founder of the Gain Line Analytics, and he make a research point on 10,000 players case study, where he was analyzing about consistency, how long they've been in the environment and how that impact their performance. And he said that on average it takes 3 years for player to reach his peak of performance when he changed the environment inside of the new environment. And the very important thing is that to know when player come in the new environment, the new club, new board expect from him, they have expectation that he will perform immediately on the level as he performed in the last game that he played on the previous club before they signed him, or even though in the best game that he played when they saw him, or in the previous season. Yeah. Also, one interesting thing what he said and what he get as a feedback from research is that players' output on the field is not just their product of their individual quality, is a product of the relationship with another players in the team as well. Because of that, that's the reason why it's necessary to have 3 years. To have 3 years to reach your peak of performance. And I really firmly believe that that the consistency is very important for the coach, for the players, and actually for the board. In Croatia, we have some sort of quote that we need to have always 3K, like consistency of the players, consistency of the coaches, and consistency of the board. If these 3 things you can remain for the longer period, then we have a big advantage according to another teams, another environment. Because that consistency is for sure one of the important things for me that believe it's necessary if you want to have less bad impact on environment of environment on the team performance. Consistency, communication, ambitions, and culture. Let's go forward with a few more parts of the puzzle. Cohesion. Cohesion. It's from my point of view. You know, maybe you read the book The Edge from Ben Littleton. I highly recommend that, because it's said in one moment. It's called it juggler effect. It's talk about how the jugglers, when they're juggling, and if they're changing the partners very often, then one of the partners who stay all the time, he need to adjust his technique and some other behaviors, skills always on the new partner. Yeah. And one of the examples of the cohesion was being actually the Croatian in the World Cup 2018, when they've been in final. In that squad of Croatia, that there has been 6 players who started against Argentina, 3 on the bench and 3 who came in during that game, that been in the same club in Croatia, Dinamo Zagreb. They go through the same culture, same environment, same development path, and many of them play together actually in the same generation, Chorluka, Modric, and so on. That just showed that confirmation that cohesion in the team is very, very important, because we believe that football is a game of interactions and relationship. And to strengthen these 2 elements, we need to remain with the same people in the same environment for the longer period. Also, one of the examples you have, when you look in general picture, Spain, when they was been dominating the football in Europe and the World Cup, they had mostly team made them by 4 to 5 players from Real Madrid and 4, 5, 6 from maybe Barcelona, and on the end maybe 1 or 2 was being from different clubs, Sevilla, Atletico Madrid maybe, or Villarreal. Same is with Germany, when they was been dominating the big competitions, Bayern Munich and Borussia Dortmund is also one of them. That's just showing us one confirmation how cohesion is important, and how important is to maintain the same people and environment, because then we increase our possibility to succeed no matter of the impact of environment so much. And on the end, for me, the last one, but very, very important, is adaptability. I experienced this through my 5 years in Norway. Very, very important. Adaptability is one of the key skills that coach should possess if you want to work professionally in this environment. Not only adaptability on the different culture and the country and the club, but adaptability on the social changes. I'm not so old as a coach, 33, 34 years old, but when I was playing, and I'm sure that many of you remember, it has been a completely different environment for coaches. Today, first of all, players are much smarter. They have a bigger amount of information on this position, and they asking the questions. They are more confident. They are more brave. They are more on the end. They are more informed, and they get access to everything, and they don't have any issue to ask the questions and confront your knowledge in that way. That means today's environment is much more complex for coaches. What is my experience, and in that way, we need to change our approach. We need to be more adaptable. We need to have a feeling for mutual respect, exchange of views with the players, understanding of opinions that is needed, and body language as well. Today people maybe talk less because they're more on interaction through the social nets and the messages and all these things. It's not so much verbal communication. Because of that, it's very important to understand the body language. I will try to give you my example how I experienced it in that way when I moved to Norway. When I came to Norway, for example, in my first club follow, I had an issue because first of all I didn't know Norwegian, even though many people here speaks English, and this has been completely different culture for me. And then what I did was being okay. I said, okay, I don't understand them, and I have an issue with communication, what is essence in the football coaching, of course. Then I bought a few books for body language, and I read the books about the body language, and try to get the feedback from the players on that way. I was more being focused how they behave, how they're reacting in the mistakes, how they reacting when they are benched or when they are fall for something or in some important game. And then I learned through body language how to approach them in the different culture until I didn't learn the Norwegian language. But very, very, very important is to have an open-minded approach and listen and see what's happening in the environment in terms of social changes, because we cannot remain the same if the environment is changing, what is completely normal. And also in terms of environment and the culture, what I experienced in Spain and Portugal above all, that big impact on the development of the players, and the culture have the genetic, of course, but also the way how they see the football. Because in Spain it's very normal that parents, many people are ex-professional, semi-professional football player, or they have some connections, and their children are going in a very early age in that environment, or to be with the father in the games, in the locker room, sometimes on the trainings, and so on and so on. And they already assimilate themselves with that kind of environment and that kind of terminology, that type of communication. And when they come as the players, you have an easier job because we are very, very close with the same terminology and already common language in many ways. That's what I also experienced there. And these six puzzle parts, if I can call like that, I consider always before I change my club. Of course, some coaches in some countries is very difficult to work, like Arabic countries and so on, and there is not so much time and space to understand all this, to research all these kind of things. But I had opportunity to work in Norway, and whenever I approached some club for my next job, I always check about these 6 things. I try to make some sort of research and speak with the board, speak with some people who are on the side of the club, speak with some people who were before in the club, and to get as best as possible answers on the culture, communication, ambitions, adaptability, cohesion, and consistency, because that will impact my decision making, that will impact my behavior, that will impact my communication with the players, with the people, with the media. That will impact also my performance, my team performance. I can guarantee you that, guys, because as we said in the beginning, macro environment, this is the very important. 50% of impact on your team performance have. That means after macro, it's going meso, that's a club, organization, they have 25-30%. I mean, you as a coach, you have 20% on that kind of thing in general, of course, in the general picture. Impact on the team performance. Because my recommendation, this is this is not what is the best. I doing like this, you don't need to do, and you will probably try to find your ways how to make a research on this and how to adjust on your personal profile because it's important that you are what you are, that you try to be yourself and match the message with the moment every time. Because if you try to copy paste someone all the time, players will see it. They believe me, they will see it. They don't need so long time. They will understand that you are fake, and there is no any point anymore. You will have challenges in the future. Because be yourself what you are. Find your main points to analyze the approach, how to approach the club and the players. I did it with these 6, and then try to see how many of them you can impact and how many of them you cannot, or you can do it less. That will be these 6 pillars, if I can call that, principles that I using for myself. I will try to share with you on the end before, if you want to start with the questions, these 4 books. Why these 4 books? Because everything what I said to you, even though some things I have written here and I want to remind myself on them, is from these 4 books about environment. It's One Goal from Bill Bestwick, the mindset of winning soccer teams, where is lots of about performance, about accountability of the players. I fully recommend this book. Rinus Michels, Team Building: The Road to Success. A lot about building the team in general, on the tactics and psychological way and the cultural way. Alex Ferguson, I don't need to represent so much. Probably many of you already read it. And this is a great book. And one the manager that make the amazing impact on the environment. And on the end of this Edge, as I said, from Ben Litton. Here is very, very, very good articles about Athletic Bilbao. It's about adaptability. It's about environment. It's about how to reach the edge in the different ways. And I can fully recommend everything what I told you earlier on this webinar is actually from these 4 books that I read in the last few years. And I don't have any secrets in the way of education, because I believe that coaches, we are actually the self-made learner, how I can call it. This education, what we had in our federations, it's a formal education, and that's something what you need to have as a badges, UEFA, A, B, C, whatever. But I believe that we're learning much more on this way, trying the things, analyzing what we did, taking the feedback from that, and creating the new points for us that we can use in the future through the books, through the webinars like this. But the most of the time I do it to the practical way, trying in the practical way, and then evaluating what's happened and how I can use that to benefit myself and my team. I don't have so much to add. I would like to hear, do you if you have some questions, because for me it's much more easier in terms of interaction than just talking to you what I have. I think it's environmental better for me and for all of us to have common interactions. And Sean, if you have some questions, be free to ask.
Yeah, I actually have a couple.
Yes.
So obviously you come from a Croatian background, and a few weeks ago we had Romeo Jovic on. He was presenting to us about the whole Croatian curriculum when he was the technical director there. How much did that influence your development in terms of how you wanted to become a coach, and did you kind of follow that when you were growing up as a coach, or is it something your own path on?
Romeo's curriculum is a great book. I have it actually. I have it somewhere here. It's a great book, but that is more for the youth. Probably you read it and you get more info from Romeo. It's an amazing book, and it's like a very great guideline for the coaches who are starting in the early phase and they are youth coaches. And it shows about lots of methods of development. but I'm more in the senior environment last couple of years, and I don't have so much in touch with this. Even though I have a very young team, I don't have so much touch with this accelerants, decelerants situations, and all what Romeo was telling about the sensitive phase of development, when to do what in the early age from 8 to 10 to 12 and so on. But book as a book is amazing, and is actually the only book from Croatian Federation approved on that way about development. But my personal perspective of development has been always evaluating my work, not comparing with another, because we all work in the different environment. I work in this one, you work in that one, and we should always, I believe that we should always evaluate from our perspective, because we never know completely what is your situation there. I hope that I answer what you meant.
Yeah, one of the other questions I had is, with that in mind, as you've gone into a senior coaching role, how much influence do you try and take, or do you feel like you should take, over that development of the youth players so that they're able to come into your first team setup and be ready to play? So instead of having just a pathway that isn't connected, how much involvement do you have, or do you have someone who kind of participates in that role for you?
I have younger teams because I prefer to work with younger players, but I'm very flexible in that way. I'm a senior coach, I understand that, and I try to have a balance between the age, of course, but I prefer to work with the younger players because they are in a way more coachable, they are more hungry for the knowledge, and another thing is they can work extra. And I really believe this is very important. A third thing is I have always first point of approach to the young player is I never try to see what he cannot do it. I always try to see what he can do it. That means when I bring some player from the youth department to my team, or when I bring some young player from the outside of the club to my team, I always bring him because I saw something that he can do it, that can contribute to my team. It's not like seeing, oh, he's bad in this, he's bad in positioning here or positioning there, or in the running, in the speed, in the duel, or whatever. What is always the most visible thing, these physical characteristics are most visible to the people, even though you don't need to be a special coach. Because always my approach to the youth player is what he can do, not what he cannot. And the other thing is that we need to understand that some players need 1 year from transfer from the youth football to the senior football, and some players can do it in the 3 years. I mean, there's some period that players need from one to another environment, from the youth to the senior. And now it's up to us to estimate how much that player need. Will he need 1 year and we can put him in the process very fast, or he will need a bit longer period, and we need to be aware of that.
So do you have a structure that supports the academy beneath your one? You know, you mentioned you have a lot of young players coming in. So for you to know and ensure that those guys are ready to play and that they fit your playing style and your philosophy, how much involvement do you have with the academy staff to make sure that these kids are ready for what you need them to be as they get to your first team?
Yeah. We try to solve it on this way. My first assistant is immediately involved in the second team. In second team are the players who are preparing to come in the first team. That means they play senior football in the 4th level. They play senior football in 4th level, and they play already senior football when they are first year of juniors. That means they're getting 2 years of adaptation with the same way of coaching, same principles, same periodization. Everything is the same as in the first team, same demands, but in the different competitive environment, of course, in the 4th division. And my colleague, my assistant, first assistant, is doing that part. He's working with them, and we are every day also on our sessions where we communicate how it has been today's session with this and this player, how it was been working this. And of course, since I have a privilege to be full time in this work for a few years now, I always can attend because we are very close to the pitch there. Our offices are very close, of course, and I can attend the all sessions and video meetings and all these things, then I have overview. And the positive thing is that the second team is always playing on the working days, not on the weekends. And I watch all games, or if there is no possibility for that because of some other reason, meetings or whatever, then I watch on the video, because we have on the Dropbox or every game immediately when it's recorded. We have it in 2 hours on Dropbox, and when I come home at evening, I just watching that game instead of some other game. Yeah.
And with that use of technology, I guess, and video and games, how much of that has kind of taken your approach towards helping players through, you know, data and analytics? And do you guys have much of a framework for that at the moment, or do you kind of talk me through that process?
Analytic as itself, I'm more oriented on the qualitative than on quantitative. I'm not so obsessed about how many kilometers they run and so on. I'm more obsessed on the qualitative analytic part. That means how they're using the space, how is their structure in each of the phases, how individually player behave inside of the sectorial structure or collective, and all these kind of things. I'm not so much about distances, meters, acceleration, deceleration, passes forward, backwards, even though we check on that, but there is not my priority target. My priority target, as I said, is qualitative, and we use it, but I must be honest that in that way I'm very related to my view. That means when I go to watch, I like to feel it, everything by myself. I like to go on the pitch and watch the game live in the second team, for example, against some local team, and then I feel everything. Then I can see, okay, this player is dealing emotionally like this with this situation, and also you can see the details from behavior what you cannot see on the video or any analytics, because it's about interaction. Because some things, for example, this socio-affective level of advantage of interaction, when two players know each other very, very well from the youths, and they play in the senior football, and then they bring some decisions non-related to your principles, but they bring them to related to their previous interactions that they had. But that's very, very effective. And we don't try to force them to bring only decisions related to our principles and demands, but also how they can how I can call that in English, how they can give the extra value with their own contribution in the way of relationship and interactions. That's what I personally believe is the best for me. I'm talking about my personal experience.
When you come to that process, not just for your own players that you have, but for recruitment purposes, we've seen a book about Alex Ferguson leading, and we had Steve McLaren on previously as well, and he mentioned that one of the ways in which Alex Ferguson went about recruitment, obviously in a time before data and analytics was such an important part of that, but it was all about developing an understanding of the person's character that he was bringing into his dressing room, so as not to disrupt culture. So when you look at all of those things together, like I said, eyeballing, going to games and watching them, and then directions, also checking their data, do you go through the process of meeting the players and engaging with them so as you know a little bit about their character before you decide if that's the person that's going to come to your environment?
Yeah, I think that's actually a very good question, because first of all, I very, very, very truly believe that football is a game of interactions, as I said previously, and relationship. What I'm doing, we have some basic pillars what we consider in the recruitment. First of all is consistency and environment. We check how many clubs that player changed before came to us. That's not mean that we never took the player who changed more clubs maybe, but it must be something special in him then. I think consistency and environment, how many clubs he changed. Second is consistency of the shape. How many games he played per season? Is he often injured? If he's attacker, how many goals he's scoring in the last 5 years, for example. That's some basic information what you can find in every amateur environment almost today. But in terms of analytic, of course, there is data like PPDA and all these things. But I must be honest that I'm not oriented to that so much. What I try to do is always to go in all environment that the player is moving in. That means I go to his home. That's first of all, almost every player, at least last season and this season in January, what I signed 2 players, I went all to their homes, to their parents, because I want to see in which kind of environment they grown up. What are the cultural demands in his family? Who is the dominant role? Is it the mother or the father? How they communicate between each other in some ways. What is his daily routine of the school? How he behave? How much free time he have and how much he use? I mean, all these things about the personality, personal profile, and then also. As I said, the injury rate is very important because we have some unwritten rule in our team that we want to work a bit more. We have a approach that we want to work harder than another because we are in the terms of the budget and everything. We are in the level of middle of table, and we need to see how we can decrease the advantage of the people who have a different kind of advantages in front of us. And recruitment wise, that's one environment, home. Second is his ex-club. I try to get as much as possible information from his teammates who play with him or ex-coaches and employees in the club where he played before. That means second environment where he's moving. And the third environment, what I call it virtual environment, is public networks. That means, and my players, all of them know that. All of them know when after that I signed them, that I was checking their Facebooks, that I was checking their Instagram nets and all these things, networks, because that's nothing special. That's not demand any financial things. You just about your time, and but believe me or not, it's giving a lot of information that you can use because you want to make that player accountable in your environment and they bring contribution. And the last thing, and for me very, very important, I'm a coach who work a lot of instinct, my feeling. And then when I have all this communication with him and environment where he move and behave and so on, live in, then I see, is it something in this relationship on the first spot that I can say, okay, I will work with this player, because you know, I think that is in Google, they have unwritten rules, but I'm not sure, or even written, that I read somewhere, that on the first meeting, they don't look on the CV of the people. It's not how much you work, how many years, and so on. They ask the questions always when they have like a team who is evaluating this person. They ask the team, would you like to spend 1 day of vacation with that person? That means if you need to go on vacation, will you bring him with you? Is he interesting profile? Do you think that you can have so many common topics to talk with? Because it's not like you come in doing the job and going home. In football, it's not going like that. In football, is you coming on the session before, you have interaction, you have a coffee maybe, you talk, you go to the training, you prepare the common ideas, and the games are evaluating you. Sometimes it's bad, and then again, all this dynamic environment. I believe this environment is very, very dynamic. But not to talk too much, I just want to try to give you a better picture.
Yep, and being in a team outside of the top leagues, is part of your process geared around not only being successful for the team, but also in preparing these players to hopefully go into one of the bigger leagues in the future. Does that kind of form part of your thinking when you're, again, trying to bring players in who you look at as helping the club to be able to be sold on for a profit, but also to make yourself and the team successful in the short term?
First of all, I believe that we need to win the football games. That's very simple, because in the senior environment, it's less and less time to implement ideas and all these things. And what I bring is someone who can fit very, very fast. It's adaptable, that we can win the games, especially if I come in the new club, because you know, when you come in a new club in the early beginning, it's very, very important that you win the games. We can talk about the development, we can talk about this, we can talk about that. Look, it's very simple. You need to win the football games, and that's it. In the senior football, And what I'm searching for is someone who can bring the team closer to the victory on the consistent way. Another thing is that I try to approach on the way that I will stay here forever in this environment, to grow together with the environment. And then, even though I know that it's not true, it's not so many people. Only maybe on this picture what I share on my screen, it's only Alex Ferguson who has been so long time in it. And I try to bring the people who can contribute in the way that we can very early win the football games in the consistent way. What I believe that make a difference. Now about success from the club and so on, we can evaluate that success in many different ways. The success is also depends on the environment where you are. For me personally, success is if in my previous club I take the team and in 6 months but we succeed to promote one 16 years old player, goalkeeper in the top division in Molde in Norway. Now he's in the A team in Molde in Norway, that to be sold and becoming the national team keeper under 18, Oliver Pettersson. Because of that, that's one of the success. Success can be rated in a different way. And I try to win the football games. That's very simple.
We had a question from Santiago. Did your approach to building an environment change when dealing with youth teams as opposed to professional teams? And is it something that's just naturally evolved as you've grown more experienced?
I didn't hear you the first part of the sentence, sorry.
Does your approach to building the environment change when working with youth teams as opposed to professional teams? If so, how? And I guess, is it something that has just evolved as you've grown and developed as a coach as well?
Yeah. Thank you for question, Santiago. First of all, second, of course, now what I said, and I really believe that there's many differences between the senior environment, where it's very competitive, and the stressful some days, from the youth. In my point of view, my approach in the youth was being completely different. Depends on where in the youth as well, because in the age of 12, 13 and the age of 19, it's also a very big difference. But it's evolved, of course, because I try to, as I said earlier, follow the evolving of the social environment, like global environment, and also environment where I work, and also according to my previous experiences. How it's evolving, because I must be honest, I did many mistakes in that way. I was when you come in the new country and the new culture, and especially when you're coming from Croatia to Norway, but many people have estimate that is okay, Croatia is here in terms of football, Norway is here in terms of football. Then you think I come in here, I'm being much younger, I've been 5 years younger than now. Full of optimism, full of enthusiasm. Now I will show this. And then you understand very fast if you analyze what you're doing, and if you analyze what is the feedback from environment, you analyze very fast. Okay, I will not change the world, But the other thing is I will not change the world, but I can change the way of thinking of these people where I am in this small environment, this one football club, and I can change their performance level. And that's what I try to do. But you learn very fast that you must adapt all the time, and you must follow the evolving of the environment, and especially in the different countries. And my message is, you will not change the world. It's just change yourself, easy, step by step. If you want to change something, change yourself.
We had a coach on last week who, as a player, he'd experienced culture in a lot of different environments. He'd been across countries and across continents even, where the environment was very different and the level was very different. And I think he mentioned a similar thing. He went in there with a mindset that because he'd come from a big league, a big country in terms of football, in terms of soccer, that he could go in and change those people very quickly just by the purpose of him having done it in another environment. Did you find that was one of your bigger challenges when you went across to a new country, that you'd come from a country with more football experience and more football pedigree, and you thought you could change those views more quickly, and in the end up being that you were changed by their culture instead?
I must be honest, if you look like a percentage, that I've been more like 60-40 for changing myself instead of changing them. In these 5 years, I changed many things. To be honest, first of all, what I changed is the communication way. Number one, how you communicate, because I learned that less talking on the pitch is better. Like less talk is mean more, because on the end it's not about what you said, because maybe 60% of message channel what is going to the player is by your moves, what you did, and by your behaviors and by your body language. And this 30% is just what you said. Because of that, to transfer some idea, to transfer some opinion, or in the end transfer your opinion, it's much more important to live like that what you're talking. Because we can talk about, I can tell you now that I'm an astronaut, but I don't have a clue what that means. And I try to live on the way how I talk to them.
And I guess with that part in mind, obviously trying to deal with the different cultures, the different personalities, and the differences in different way that people interact in different countries. I think that was something that came out of last week, that the people in Canada were very different to the people in India, and the people in India were very different to the people in Serbia, and all were different to the people in the UK. Do you have any kind of structured sort of process that you go through to, I guess, make yourself more assimilated into this new environment? Obviously, language is a big part of it. Just getting to know the country beforehand, just a little bit of anything you can do to. I know we've got coaches on the call, and we've had coaches throughout this process who either work in different countries to where they're from, myself included. Obviously, there's a big adjustment that you have to make personally outside of coaching to be comfortable and confident going into that new environment entirely to what you're used to.
But I mentioned all these things in before. What 6 pillars are using for evaluating the environment where I'm coming from in terms of culture, cohesion, adaptability, consistency, and all these things. What I try to reconsider when I'm coming in some environment, and I had the privilege to always talk from the good position when I negotiate with a new club, and then I can say, okay, tell me how you're doing this, tell me how you're doing that, what has been the issues before, I analyze a bit all itself, and then I get the feedback, and then I can get a better evaluation. What I try to do, I try to go, when I come in the club, I try to go in the working parts of the club, not in the nicest one, VIP room and all these things, because there is nothing to see. Believe me, if you go in the VIP room, it's a table, it's a PC, it's a TV, whatever, and everything is nice and clean. But what I'm doing, I go into the working parts of the club. That means there were the boxes with the balls, where are the equipment room, where is the coaches room, where are the locker room. I go in there, because there you will see everything. And when I come to the new club to visit, to see how it looks like, and if I haven't been there much, then I go in this part of the club, because when you come in the box room with the ball, with the equipment room, you will see what is the culture of the club. Believe me, you see everything. You see what our organization is, how they're treating the environment, are they respectful to it, are they have some sort of culture and the values in it, you know. And then I see everything, and according to that I bring some evaluation, and I know what kind of people are doing the job there, and what should be changed. But as I said, it's very difficult to change everything. That's not so smart.
From a personal standpoint, what is your ambition? That you continue to grow within and look to move to coaching at the higher levels in the top leagues? Personally, what would you say your ambition is?
Yeah, I've been in Croatia in top level, and I experienced it from the bottom level in Croatia to top level in the national teams a bit, and also in this country as well, two different levels. But my first objective is, I always joke with my friends, but to work in the morning, I said, because professional teams in Norway, or even some semi-professional, and me as well, in the semi-professional environment, we're working afternoon, you know. And I believe that the best daily routine to develop is if you have a sessions in the morning. Because of that, I always joke when they say, "What is your ambition?" My ambition is to work in the morning, because I want to have a breakfast with the players. I want to go to the session in the morning. I want to have a lunch after with them, do a bit of job, and then go home with my family. I have one son, 3.5 years old, and another son is on the way on since September. And then I know that football is not the most important thing in the world, to be honest with you. I enjoy and I'm very grateful for this, but I believe personally the performance on the field is hugely dependable on your performance in the family, in your daily life. Because of that, I try to have first my family on the place safe and everything, and then I know that my performance on the field will be always good enough to progress every year. And that's what my objective is. Practice in the morning, that means top environment.
In this time, obviously, it's been very difficult for everyone across the globe. It's not been something that's localized. What have you been able to do to keep your players and staff engaged while you've been able to be out on the field?
To be honest with you, of course, it's many standard methods like programs individual and to do with the strength trainings and all these things, and the group sessions and video meetings. What I believe that we all doing. Another thing is that we also understand that some players, not many of them in our team, was been many years without a proper family life and proper rest and proper time with the friends and all these things, social life. Then we decide, okay, we're giving them a program until some moment, and then we're giving the full freedom in 2-3 weeks, for example. We really want them to be out of the football. There is no any problem for us, because we will get 4 weeks from federation to prepare for the season. And we believe if they follow partly this program, that they will come already on some decent level, that we don't have a too big disadvantage. And we even didn't communicate with them on daily basis like we usually doing, calling them and doing some online sessions. We said, okay, now we switch off everything. Now we're giving them free time. We're giving us a free time, recharge the batteries. And when we come back, we're coming with a new enthusiasm and the gratefulness that we are back again. Not like, oh, we are 3 months now, every day it's boring, when this will start. And we try to feel a bit of the human side. We'll see, is it right when the season starts?
Has it, or did you guys already have some form of framework for supporting mental skills, mental health, psychosocial aspect of the game? How do you navigate that? Do you have specialists? Do you have like I said, a framework in place?
We have another of my assistant is he have a master in psychology in Keln, and he makes some programs. To be honest, I didn't have so much control, not control, but involvement in that, because he have much more expertise than me in that. And I really try to give freedom to people who have expertise in certain area more than me. I don't want to hire them and then tell them what to do. And then he was working more on these things when it comes to the how to control the stress, anxious, and all these things, motivation. But of course, I prefer to do this individual meeting face to face. I like this, but to be honest with you, I prefer this non-official meetings. That mean after the session, or we just when we have a day off, we can take a coffee in the stadium or something like that, or we call that coffee with coach, like we call that. And then Monday is coffee with coach, and they just send a message in our messenger group, coach, I'm coming today a bit earlier for coffee, yes, see you. And then we talk about his performance, about his private life, about his issues, about his school, depends on what profile the player is that we're meeting. That mean I'm more on that way. I'm more about human part and these things, and my colleague is more about following these changes and all these things.
When we talk about, I guess, some of the most successful managers in the world at the moment, there's kind of a trend towards that human element, the relationship building with the players. Do you think that's the most important part of the job of a head coach or of a manager now, to build those relationships and to ensure that the whole is functioning, like that the family life is solid, as well as the life on the field and in the changing room?
I don't know, to be honest with you, I don't know the clear answer because I was answering from my perspective. From my perspective, it is. But I know that some other coaches have a completely different approach. One of my friends who I play futsal with, Hrvoje Milic, he played left back in Napoli under Sarri. And I spoke with him several times about his methods and how he works and so on. And it's completely different than what I told you now. Like, you don't have that human interactions and all these things, and he's not so empathic. He's just a coach who have his own principles, coming there, doing the job. He don't care about the transfer market. He don't care about the signing new players. Give me the players. I teach them this. They need to do this, and that's it. No any special interactions or what is completely different from other coaches, for example, from some other coaches. And in my point of view, for me, that's a starting point always. And if I don't feel something in common, I cannot spend every day some hours with that person. It's very difficult for me. I'm that kind of profile. I cannot focus on my job if I need to work with someone who don't have a common ambitions or the attitudes and all these things. Yeah.
We had a question from Phil, and it's kind of linked to this. How have you handled more challenging players, such as the Maverick in the group, or players who have responded negatively to your methodology or approach?
How to handle them? If that is not impacting the performance, for me that's not a problem. If that is impacting performance, group is in front of everything. If that is impacting the performance in the group and decreasing the development of other players, then he must go. It's not so much, but that kind of things the players get in the first week of the session. They already know. It's not about the time some sort of dictator. It's not about that, but we demand the mutual respect for every minute on the session from everyone. Because if I came on this session today as a player and you came as well, and you really don't care, and I really care to develop today and prepare well for the next game to win, and you really don't care, then we cannot be in the same group. Something is wrong. And then it's up to coach. If coach is for this side more, and he don't care either, then it's up to him. But I really don't have a problem with big egos, because I know the big egos are people who can change the things on better. Usually that kind of players are players who can make a difference on the pitch.
Do you think that a lot of that comes down to the original culture that you set? So as it becomes like a group regulated situation where the team regulate it, if the team accept that person and those behaviours, and it doesn't, like you said, affect team performance, it doesn't affect team dynamic, then it's acceptable. But if it's something that then starts to destroy the culture that's been set, that's when you kind of feel like you have to make a change and correct the behaviour or remove the person from the group.
I'm not sure that I understand you so well. It's a lot of echo in it, but can you repeat me just first part of the question?
Yeah, it's like, do you find that when you set a strong culture, that the group becomes regulators of it? So as if that person's behaviour is accepted by the group and it doesn't affect team dynamic, team performance, like you said, then it's acceptable. And it's only when it starts to affect that performance or the behaviour becomes such that the team starts to, I guess, not accept that behaviour anymore, that you have to take action if your culture is set strongly to begin with.
I think that's going in the part of my puzzle is consistency, cohesion and consistency. Because if you have for a long time people in your group, then your terminology becoming the same, and then your point of view becoming the same, and then all people who coming in the group have a very easy part of adaptation. Because in 2 days when you come in a new group, you can get 90% of information, and you can see who is where, what is the status in the group of each of them. because every player should have his status and his role in the team. That's my point of view. And we need to make each of them accountable. That means no matter is he first 11 or he's number 18, he must have his role in the group. Some players have a role that they are in charge for the mood. You know, they are the DJs, I don't know, even though they don't play. But they have a role to be in charge of the mood when the things are changing, that they are recognizing, and they try to keep the mood on the right level. And I believe that usually if the group is very well guided and with the clear values and the principles in the senior football, then individuals will always accept the group. And coach, I believe that we are here just to maintenance all what was being agreed in advance. What I believe, what I try to do every time when I take over the team is agreed everything is possible I can in advance before we start to go to the defeats, victories, and all these things. I mean, try to predict in a way and say, okay, guys, this will happen, and how are we going to react in this kind of situation, and then when that's happened, we already know what our reaction is. And I try to always do these things in the early, very, very early phase, that all of them have their role and responsibilities, and of course the parts of the reward as well. I don't believe that one individual can change the complete group if the group is very, very stable and have the common idea.
Perfect. So we had the last question from Macklin, and another question in the chat actually about this. Do you have the name of the books that you read in terms of that understanding of body language that you mentioned earlier in the presentation?
It's language of the silent leader. I'm thinking it has been 5 years ago. Don't get me completely for the headline. Language of the silent leader. It's a woman who is write that. What is the name? I can't remember. But it's not the only one. It's many good books in the body language, and I really believe in that. To be honest, I'm really convinced that the body language is a great tool if you know how to use him. Body language, especially in the difficulties in defeats, because I believe I try to be always very, very fresh when I approach in the group after these kind of things, and not show any disappointments in a way that now it's the end of the world. And in the books of the Alex Ferguson, actually, he said one interesting thing. Whenever he lost the game and he was being furious, before he will go out to the media, because media are evaluating everything, they have these body language readers and all these things, he was always washing his face with the water before he go there. He said, like, to clean all these bad mimics and gesticulations, you know. And I believe that's true. To be honest, I believe that's true, and I really convinced in that. And I noticed the difference when you approach with the right body language to your players in the locker room, how you can transfer the right energy on them. I was doing the 2-time internship with Nenad Bjelica, head coach of Dinamo Zagreb, who was participating now in Champions League against Benfica and Man City and so on. I was been 2 times with him. One time I was been between 2 games of Champions League against Benfica. In that week I was been with him. And he told me that in 90% of the cases, the energy of the team is the energy of the coach. That means he said, yeah, that's 90%. And he admits when he lost against Atalanta away in Bergamo, he admits that that team was playing there because they won first game 4-1 or 4-0 in Zagreb. And after 1 week, they lost 3-0 or something like that in Bergamo. And he said that team, that was been my bad energy, not their fault, because I was coming in that game with doubts and all these things, and I transferred that to them. And I really believe in that. And also the knowledge, I learned something from him as well, from Nenad. He said to me, Mario, it's not important that we as a coaches know everything about periodization, about condition. That's not important, he told me. It's much more important how you use your knowledge, what you have. It's better to have a less amount of information or knowledge and use it in the right way. Stand behind that and know what you want and have a clarity in it. Because he said me like this. He said, I have many friends that are top pro coaches, theoretically maybe among the best in the world, but they are not able to guide my street team to any tournament to win anything. And they have pro licenses, and they've been lecturing at Real Madrid University or whatever, but they don't have any competence to lead the group of the children from the street. That's what stayed in my mind when I left his office, and that's the reason why I really believe that these kind of things are much more important than just a theoretical part and the books. And I read the books, but I'm really more focused on what I feel in the environment, you know.
Perfect. I can't think of a better way to end it than with those words, because I think that if we can take just that part with us from this really interesting and insightful presentation, knowing that we know that we don't know everything, but what we do know, we need to know how to transmit to our players, and that goes from youth players all the way up to professional players. So, Mario, thank you so much. Everyone who joined us, thank you guys so much as well for your continued participation in this continued development. And again, Mario, best of luck for when you guys get back onto the field, hopefully soon. I'm not sure if you're out there yet or if your league's starting soon, but best of luck with all of that, and hopefully we can connect again. I really appreciate your time today, Mario, and everything you did. So thank you so much.
Yes, Sean, thank you for inviting me. It has been a pleasure, and I wish all people who participate here all the best. And after this period of Corona, I'm sure that we all come back with more enthusiasm and with more ambitious. I hope so. And all the best to all of you people. And I wish you. Is it the night now? Is it the night or is it the late?
Here it's lunchtime in the US, but UK.
Okay. Nice. Then have a good lunch and all the best, guys.